welcome to the Comic Corner. My name is Damon. If you know me, I love topping comics, and today I have the perfect person to talk comics with. I have from comicbook.com. He is everyone's favorite Daredevil stan with a supernatural flair. He's the creator of the Riotverse with titles such as Shit Show, Moonspawn Defenders of the Dark, and soon to be Macabre Mel Wicked Salvation. Our first guest is the one, the only, the newlywed man, Mr. Adam Barnhardt.
Yes. Thanks for having me. That is the first time in my life someone's called me perfect. So thank you very much. Thank you.
Well, it shouldn't
I
be
appreciate
the first or the last at all.
it. Probably won't be the last. I'll be back next week for another hype up.
So, Adam, the whole point of when we were discussing about doing this show is to introduce comic book fans, new and old, to creators and people within the comic book space. And I thought of no one other perfect than you, who is someone who is not only a fan of the comic book space, but someone, as I mentioned before, you make comics.
I do. I try to. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. It's just so happens to be working a lot recently, which I am both happy for and terrified for, and nervous for and excited for, and all sorts of stuff. But yeah, man, the comics world's been crazy, and I'm glad to be the smallest part of it, like the smallest possible part.
So, Adam, I am curious, what is your comic book origin story? Your first appearance? Your how did you get into this world of pictures and words?
So I have two siblings, and when each of us were born, my parents started collecting something for each of us. Um, and mine just so happened to be comics. So when I became of suitable age where I could take care of comics, my dad gifted me the comics he had collected up until that point. I mean, he had collected his whole entire life, and he decided he was going to gift me his comic collection. But I was at an awkward age. It was before the Marvel Cinematic Universe was taken off, um, and comics weren't as cool as they were now, man. And I'm just like, you know what? I'd rather get into sports or something like that. So I just kind of set those off to the side, and he reclaimed it. Which, looking back at his collection, I'm so angry I did that to it because
Is
they
there
are now
anything
his
good in there?
comics. Oh, every single thing's good. I mean,
Oh,
He has a good chunk of Hulk Volume One, including 181, which is the first Wolverine. He has like Captain Marvel Volume One, the entire set, and that has some of the most beautiful cosmic artwork ever. He has all sorts of stuff. Jim Steranko's Nick Fury, a couple old Captain America stuff. It's just a bunch of stuff that I want now, but it's all too out of my price range, and I could have had it for free about what is it, 16 years? Jeez, I'm getting old. Yeah, 16, 17
oh,
years
the
ago.
coulda, shoulda, wouldas of
Coulda,
comic
shoulda,
collecting.
woulda. Yeah. But my collection's getting up there, man. It's rivaling his. So
Okay.
I still every so often I still like, hey man, you wanna regift me those? And he says, no chance in hell.
Absolutely not. Is there a
Absolutely.
run that you have that's your all-time favorite? Now, wait, I know that Daredevil.
Mhm.
You've mentioned it before. He's your favorite, but is there another favorite character or just a run that's like that's it? That's on my list.
So contrary to popular belief, Daredevil's
Ooh.
probably not my favorite comic book character. My favorite comic book character is probably Iron Fist.
Okay.
I have every single solo appearance from Iron Fist. I might have the entire Power Man and Iron Fist set too, and most of Power Man / Luke Cage. But Iron Fist is probably my favorite comic hero. We talked last week. Immortal Iron Fist is hands down my favorite comic book run. That and probably Born Again. To be super cliche, are probably my two favorite comic book runs of all time, followed by Black Hammer. Black Hammer's right up there with with my Marvel DC stuff. I've mainly been a lifelong Marvel fan.
Mm.
I collect some Batman stuff here and there, primarily just Nightwing stuff. What outside of that, man, yeah, Iron Fist my favorite. Love Moon Knight. I love like the dark, supernatural, spooky characters. I love all things Marvel,
Hmm.
horror, all the monster titles. I love pulp.
Yeah, I was gonna bring
Yeah,
up
you go
those
first.
monsters because Man Thing has been an ongoing monster that has been making his ways throughout the Twitterverse and now soon to
Yes.
be Marvel Cinematic Universe. Have you seen the Werewolf by Night
Hell
yet,
yeah, I've
Adam?
seen it, man. I almost
What?
crashed my
Give
vehicle
me
when I
your
got the email.
give me
Yeah,
your
man.
reaction, your quick
Oh, it's
reaction.
quick reaction. It's the best thing Marvel's ever done. It's so
Wow.
unique, so far out there. It's incredible, man. The amount of heart and character and story they pack into 48 minutes, 53 minutes, excuse me, is unrivaled.
Mm,
It's they do more in one special than they do and than they have done in all the other Disney Plus shows.
wow.
And if that's the format that works for them, go with it. You know, I don't see why not. Why waste money on more episodes when you can just do these one off specials? It's hard for me to. It's hard to believe that after seeing it, they don't just crank one out a month eventually or something like that.
Oh yeah.
It's a splendid format. It's great. It's very small and intimate, and that's not even mentioning the actual content itself. It's incredibly scary. It's flat out gory. At some points, I'm like, there were two moments in particular that I'm like, I cannot believe this made it to the cut,
To a
the
TV
final
14 cut, which
to a
is
TV
the
for. If it
yes.
was no, if it was color, I have no doubt in my mind. Um, it would
Something would have
be
got flagged.
oh no for sure because blood splatters everywhere. It's
Oh
just
man.
chaos at one point where I don't want. I'm not going to spoil, but it's just chaos and there's blood literally everywhere.
Oh my
Like
golly.
it might make
Yes.
Carrie jealous. But
Yes.
it was dynamite. And I love those characters. Man thing looks so damn good, man.
Can you explain to people who don't know who Man Thing is, like what Man Thing is?
So Man Thing is a gentleman, was a gentleman named Ted Salas Theodore. And he was experimenting with some super soldier serum type injections or whatever. And then of course, as all good swamp monsters do, he crashed into a swamp and he had a reaction. And then there's some like espionage mixed in with his lover, girlfriend, fiance, wife person. But he's kind of like a badass Groot, I guess, for lack of a better word. You know, he's a dude that doesn't talk. He just kind of sulks around the swamp, waiting for the next call to join Legion of Monsters or something like that. Man, it's insane. The first volume, just right out of the gates, after you get through, his earliest black and white stuff and get through like Adventure into Fear stuff, like Man Thing 1 just takes you on a trip across the multiverse, and it just totally subverts all expectations you have of a swamp monster creature. You have him, and you have like a Merlin type wizard, and uh and Jennifer Kale and Howard the Duck, and it's just like it's an incredible
It's always good
subversion.
when Howard the Duck shows up.
It's incredible. It's crazy, and then it's like Man Thing number one. That first issue of number one is just like is comics, man. It's just perfect comics. It's just like you can't get this in any other medium besides comics. It's all these characters that shouldn't be together. They're on screen doing this impossible task, this impossible story that makes zero sense, but it's just the beautiful drawings and the Kirby Crackle
Mm.
inspired stuff and the multi-dimensional panels. It's just like this makes zero sense. And somehow along the way they made him the keeper of the multiverse, which also doesn't make sense, but hell, why not?
Seems important if Marvel's Cinematic Universe is going to that in a multiverse
Hmm.
saga.
I'm
Seems important.
yeah, I'm putting the finishing touches on it. By finishing touches, I mean I'm barely started a piece about how he's the most important character. We'll see in the next couple of years, so we'll
Pretty
see.
crazy.
It's He looks great though, man. It's
Ugh,
there's
can't
You
wait.
can tell it's part
Can't
practical,
wait.
part. I can't wait for the assemble episode, man. Because if they, I don't, yeah. we can
Yep.
circle back after it comes out. But Man Thing looks great.
So I reached out to you the other day, and you told me, because you know my all time favorite comic book run is
Hmm.
Hawkeye by Matt Fraction and David Aja, and you
Hmm.
said, "Have you read Iron Fist by Matt Fraction and David Aja?" And I was like, I'm not much of an Iron Fist person. I knew he wrote it, and you're like, read it. I said, okay.
Hmm.
And then there's a panel in there that is just the most, like, you mentioned it. It's like the most Hawkeye panel, and for me, it was the one where he's waking up, he's in a bed, night nurse is leaving, and they're just making sure to, like, hey Dan, you don't know who he is? Like, yeah, I'm Danny Rand, I'm the master of kung fu, I'm the Iron Fist, and I know kung fu. Hiya. And I was just like, yep, that's it. That's it right there.
Oh yeah, man. No, it's a great. I mean, those two runs. I mean, of course, they're very similar because it's by both by the same creators. But I love them. I love them. That's the type of it's that silly, stupid shit. I love,
Yep.
man.
Who is your favorite writer, and do any writers of yours that have inspired you when you're writing?
I mean, Jeff Lemire is the first one that comes to mind
Mm.
between Black Hammer. He does the Twin Peaks inspired type stuff. There's always this serious, almost edge lord type vibe to it. But stuff never takes itself too seriously. It's
Mm.
always super meta, and that's what I love about Black Hammer. And everyone hates. I shouldn't say hates superhero comics, but superhero comics in indie circles have a bad rap because I mean, you have Marvel and DC cranking out 50 superhero comics a week, but at the same time, you look at indie and they have a dozen sword and sorcery tales coming out, and a dozen. Who the thing that pisses me off about it, like, who wants to? I get every genre has its audience, but I don't want to
Mm.
read comic like slice of life comics. You know, I say that after I say, Hawkeye's my favorite one, even though Hawkeye's very slice of life. But
It is
I,
very slice of it, but it has an unrealistic factor
right,
to
right,
it
right,
in the end. But it is very ground level, which is why I like it.
right, exactly. And it's just like, I go to the movies to watch Transformers and to eat popcorn and to watch stuff that I don't see in real. I don't want to go see a very sad movie in theaters, about real life stuff that we always deal with. Let me eat my Sour Patch Kids and see robots kill each other, and that translates to comics as well. And I totally just kind of took us off on a tangent, but no, Jeff Lemire's a great writer, one of my favorites. Probably is my favorite. Other, I mean, like the likes of staying in the Black Hammer corner, David Rubin. He did Sherlock Frankenstein. He's done some Black Hammer stuff. He did Ether with Matt Kent for Dark Horse. Um, Such a talented artist, man. He's one of my favorite artists in the entire industry. It's that type of thing that every single thing of his that he draws and posts on Instagram or something inspires me. I'm like, man, I want to write a story he can draw, or something like that. It's just this, uh, again, Kirby inspired, fourth
Mm.
world type, cosmic stuff and everything he does, even though some of the stories are super ground level. It's just incredible artist. So those are two of my favorites in the game right now. You have the classics. You have, Stan and Jack and Steve Ditko and Steranko. You have, Frank Miller, Born Again. I just love Born Again's awesome because I love that narrative structure, um, where it is really the best of both prose and sequential storytelling. Um, what else? I could look through all the trades I have.
Well, I was going to transition from
Mhm,
your favorite writers to you as a
mhm.
writer,
Okay.
because you're here, because I
Mhm.
want to talk about your books, because you are the writer and the creator of the Riot Verse.
Right, right, right.
And I want to start with the Shit Show books, Volume
Mhm,
1. And it's explain a little bit what it is for those who haven't read it. The best way I can describe it is you have a group of superheroes and they met their match
mhm,
and pretty much lost. What
Mhm.
was your inspiration behind that? Because you don't see that in a lot of books these days.
What was my inspiration behind it? I was watching. So I always tell everyone that I was binge watching Shameless or something.
I
Like
love Shameless.
I was binge watching Shameless, like on Christmas break, like 6, 7 years ago. I just
Okay.
had a week off during winter or something, and I was binge watching Shameless, and I'm like, man, it would be absolutely insane if Frank Gallagher had superpowers. And that was the initial
Oh
like
man.
inspiration behind that, just the super dysfunctional family
Mm-hmm.
that each had superpowers and stuff. So then that idea snowballed, and I started working on some things, and then like, well, I don't want Superman, who's the ultimate, Boy Scout, who's all good, but then evil Superman's also been done to ad nauseum. Everyone's done good Superman and evil Superman. Why don't we just do a decent Superman that's just kind of down on his luck, and he's not a bad guy. He's just he's a good guy with good intentions that just runs into all the bad luck. Um, and that's really the idea I formed shit show around with, and I love found family stories, Guardians of the Galaxy, of course. The Suicide Squad, things like that. Just found families, people, relationships that don't make sense. But it's corny, it's cliche, but those are the type of stories I like. So that's the basis of shit show. And then it snowballed, man. It snowballed from there. I'm like, okay, well, the superheroes, and if these superheroes, if Rich McCoy, legend, the Frank Gallagher, equivalency in this red verse, really wanted to feel the impact, there had to be a whole shit ton of heroes that needed to disappear, um, die. And for people listening, die was in quotation marks, but as it stands now, yes, they're dead technically. Um, and so he'd feel that loss, and that's kind of where it's going now, where we just keep fleshing out the superhero world. When I went to pitch it, the publisher I pitched to specifically said on their website that they don't accept superhero submissions.
Dang it.
I know, and I totally disregarded it and didn't think anything of it. And I was walking into the grocery store one day to, if anyone in the Midwest is listening, watching, Chester's Chicken, phenomenal. I was walking in to get a 3-piece tender from Chester's Chicken, and they emailed back and they said, "Hey, we want you to join the Scout family. Here's the publishing contract. Look it over." All this stuff. And I'm like, but it's a superhero book. Like, it's explicitly a
But it's
superhero book.
but Adam, it's a good superhero book.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. I have no idea what I was doing when I wrote it. I think I wrote like 6 pages to it, and then I started working with Samir on art. Before that, the very first thing I did was have someone do key art, and I have it somewhere. It looks nothing. The characters look nothing like they do now, or
Is that the most fun thing about making a comic book, is just creating these characters, especially in a superhero set where you're just like, I can make whatever and whoever I want.
That's my favorite part of the process, man. I my notebook's just full of random names. And random names are like weird powers or something. Like, sometimes I'll like pay for like a character, an artist to do like a character design. Like, I'm sitting on a 3, 4 dozen just black and white character designs of just like random things that have popped into my mind. Um, and that's not counting any comics that I'm actually earnestly developing or writing or producing. So yeah, man, it's just cool. It's like, I don't know, man. It's life is life, so let's not why not like tell stories or live in
Yeah.
different worlds.
Well,
I do keep my 2 feet grounded as best as I can on this earth because it is real life. Let's play with superheroes or something.
what part of this whole process, when you're making an indie comic like this, very grassroots, like, it
Mhm.
surprised you the most? Like, whether it's like the production or just the overall process?
It's the surprised me the most. when I was at C2E2 last year, it was actually my first con as a professional writer. Um, and I had more than one person. I would have been thrilled if one person came up to my table to buy books, but I got a lot of people not only buying books, but there was a couple people that came up and were like talking about my characters and what their favorite characters were, and like what they would like to see from this character. And I'm like, dude, this is weird. Like weird
It's
in the best way
cool.
possible. It's cool as hell, man. It's like it just started with an idea, and then I
Yeah.
convinced an artist to draw it. And then somehow I convinced the publisher that didn't want superhero books to publish a superhero book. And then people came up and started talking to me about the characters in that book. And then they wanted me to sign their stuff. And I'm like, nah, I don't think you do you? Uh,
Well, there's so many unique things in that book. I think the story overall, where you set these characters, is really unique, and you don't see that in a lot of superhero books. But something else, and I think this is the most underappreciated thing in any comic, and I think any person in the comic industry would agree with this, is lettering.
mhm.
And letter squids, like letters in that, made me like actually really like I had to put it down and be like, this made me look at lettering in a whole different
Mhm.
way.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Justin, man, I love that man. He's so incredible. He made that book. You know, I love Smear, I love Warnia. You know, they did the art, the colors. But Letter Squids, man, he really did push it over the top on everything he said. We have another book coming out. It's a spinoff. Scout's also publishing. It's a Radverse book. Keepers of the Cosmos. Letter Squids came back for that. He's an artist, man. He's such an artist.
Literally. I mean,
Literally,
he writes out shit, and it's literally written in shit.
shit. Yeah, wait until you see Keepers when one of the characters says nutsack and just
Oh,
and see what he came up with for that. It's he's incredible. He adds his special touch. There's a moment in I think it's in issue 3 where our shape shifting character transforms into a bear, and I wrote in the script, and we have the art uncensored where it's where he's just like flipping demons off when he's the bear. And he's like has half of a demon in his mouth. And the comics are shit show, and there's blood and gore, and there's everyone's dropping f bombs and saying shit. But for some reason, the fingers like censored. He put the parental advisory sticker over the censored part. And it's just so funny. Like it's like we haven't censored anything in this book. It makes zero sense, but Letter Squids put it in there, and it's just like
next thing you know, you're gonna have the Comic Code Authority just
yeah,
like pasted all over the place.
yeah. And there's all sorts of Easter eggs and with Keepers. Man, he took it up for the Keepers book. I think he realized that we didn't put any like restrictions on him for Shit Show Volume 1. And Keepers most certainly reflects that, because there are some, oh man, I want to talk about several moments on it. It's just,
This is what
if
we
you
call a
love,
tease.
yes, if you loved Shit Show 1, man, Keepers is on a whole other level when it comes to the legend known as Letter Squids.
So another book you've wrote just came out really recently. It's called
Mm-hmm.
Moonspawn and Defenders of the Dark. It's a number 0, and it's literally designed to be a number 0, where you're just introduced to these characters, you're introduced to this setting, and for people who haven't read it, how would you describe that world?
So, Shit Show 1, Rich McCoy's descent into madness, or his drunk descent into drunken stupor, is revolves around the destruction of the Age of Heroes, and essentially, a demon named Balaam comes to Earth, and to send him back, a spell is performed that takes away as many powered people as Balaam took away. Why Balaam came to Earth, how he came to Earth, why that spell was conjured will be answered in a project we'll talk about in just a sec after Moonspawn. But the idea is that the vast majority of heroes um, disappeared, died as a result of Balaam, and Moonspawn is about a person that kind of sort of has abilities, but she dropped out of magic school. So she luckily got saved, and she has to scrape the literal bottom of the barrel to find whatever other heroes she can. People that turn themselves into heroes, um, people that gave themselves abilities, people that aren't heroes, people that lived in swamps that came from other planets. You just things like that. She scrapes the bottom of the barrel, all to chase after her um, ailing father, who happens to be the world's most prominent monster hunter, who traversed into an alternate dimension where he shouldn't be, because he certainly doesn't have the right mindset for it. But so that's Moonspawn number 0, man. It started off. I love writing short stories, and I love doing kind of tests with artists for longer projects. And I turned a batch of these stories into Shit Show Shorts number 1 last year. We turned another batch into Moonspawn number 0. Um, and so that's that corner, man. They're all spooky, horror type characters.
Yeah.
We have the swamp monster, we have the creepy crawly bug man, we have magicians, sorcerers, we
You
have
have a vampire.
vampire. Yes,
Yeah,
vampire.
the list goes like I was right.
Yes.
I mean, just like the three favorites that I had just from that was Snake Root,
Mhm,
who's the monster,
mhm,
who's got a little bit of a good humor to him.
mhm,
Uh, Zarya, who is, as you mentioned, she's the one at the beginning who's the magic user, and Taliska's the vampire. Those like the three when I was reading, I was like, yep, those three instantly connected with.
mhm, mhm. I'm glad you like Snake Root. I'm not sure how much I've said on social media and stuff, but I will tell you a little something. He is getting his own story, his own issue next
Ooh,
year.
heck
And
yes.
can I don't know if I have it saved on my phone. I have a tease somewhere. I'll DM you, but no, he's
Okay.
we're doing a Snake Root story, and it's one of my favorite stories I've ever written. And the art, it's going to be modeled after the old black and white pre-code horror type comics.
Oh yes,
We're
nice.
still working on whether it should be like magazine size or not.
Mm-hmm.
But regardless, it's going to be black and white, and it's going to be perfectly spooky. But we have a lot. We're getting started in earnest on Moonspawn Volume 1 too. Um, we'll be bringing that out in 2024, because our schedule's already full for next year. But Moonspawn Volume 1, 4-issue miniseries, man. It's heartbreaking and awesome and amazing and incredible. It's
Can't wait.
I always write to, like, I don't know what it is about Moonspawn, but I like wrote into a spot where I was like, I always connect with the characters, and I don't write the stories. Like, if I'm writing a script and I'm like, I'm not feeling this person, I put it away. Like
Mm-hmm.
Moonspawn Volume 1, I wrote through like all 4 issues in like a week, and it
Wow.
just like wrote me into a spot where I'm like, man, my heart aches for these characters. I'm gonna cry over this. But no, I really like that batch of characters.
So you've been busy because there is a
Yes.
brand new Kickstarter that is
Hmm.
now live
Yes.
for a character that was first introduced in the Shit Show Volume 1, Macabre
Hmm.
Mel. And
Hmm.
she is back with her own series. This is called Macabre Mel's Wicked Salvation. Go get it on Kickstarter. Go pitch in. There is a bunch of physical, digital options
Yes. Yes.
for
Yes.
you. It is a 56-page graphic novel.
Hmm. 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 Yeah. So this idea came to mind. It's set between Shit Show's issue 2 and 3. It's also a standalone thing. Everything I've written so far all fits in the superhero world, which everyone advises you against doing if you want to get started into comics. And I don't know why I'm doing it. I like it. I love superheroes. I love tights. I love monsters. I love aliens. Whatever. But I pretty much wrote this side by side with Shit Show Volume 1. I got the idea. Um, as I was writing that, and when I needed breaks on writing Shit Show Volume 1, I would turn to this graphic novella and start kind of hammering out ideas for that. And so, yeah, Mel, spoilers for a comic most of you have yet to read. That's all
Go
a
pick
few
it up.
years old by now. Go pick it up. But Mel is killed, and this is her journey after death. She goes to hell and fights the devil, and fights this spooky one-eyed time lord, and all in pursuit of a sword that grants its wielder incredible abilities. and it's super cool. And Rollins Kalnins is the artist on this, and he does horrific artwork, in the best way possible. His work is just so spooky and so atmospheric and so moody, and it was the perfect story for the perfect artwork for this story. But yeah, it's out, 56 pages. Um, a bunch of demons, swords, sorcery, magic, superheroes.
It's got
Oh
everything.
yeah, King Arthur and Merlin. We go to Camelot, man. We have a
Hell
little bit of
yeah.
everything in that. It's been a treat to develop. All my collaborators on it have worked with me since the very beginning of my very short comics career so far. So I'm glad we can work on an extended project together.
Adam, thank you so much. Where can people get your comics?
All my comics are on the Lunchroom Riot website. That's the my studio. I'm publishing everything under lunchroomriot.com. You can order Shit Show through your comic store. Keepers of the Cosmos isn't being solicited yet, so you can't get that. That'll be available through your comic store. Macabre Mel, Macabre, whatever you want to say. That's live now. MacabreMel.com or WickedSalvation.com. And we're just getting started, man. Follow me on Twitter. Follow me on Instagram. 2023 is coming up. Lunchroom Riot, man. We have a 4-issue mini series we're going to announce soon that we're self-publishing. We have 2 Kickstarters planned, and we have 3 Keepers of the Cosmos issues. So we are doing 10, 11 issues throughout the next year, including, Wicked Salvation. We're at a dozen issues between now and the end of 2023. So if you like superheroes, if you like indie comics, if you like indie comic creators, if you like underground type feeling artwork, especially with something like Wicked Salvation, um, yeah, follow us, man. Check out lunchroomride.com. I'm wearing this hoodie, man. We have merch.
You have
We have
merch.
merch now. We have merchandise because everyone wants merchandise.
Yes.
Nah, I don't know. Whatever. But yeah, buy our comics so we can keep doing it, and follow us, and tell your friends. Even if you don't read comics, any retweets better than a kick in the ass.
Absolutely. Adam, thank you so much. Go support indie comics. If you got anything from this, go support indie comics. Go to Kickstarter, get Macabre Mel, go support it. $10 I think is for the digital issue,
Yeah.
and go catch up on this because you don't want to miss out. Adam, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.